Good.
I'm just gonna grab my papers.
Yep. We'll give it just a second here. That'll
Yep.
work.
We do have a quorum, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we have a quorum. Very good.
I believe we do. Yep.
No, it's a great read. Oh, boy, I'm thoroughly enjoying that book. He did a heck of a job. Well, it's 4 books, 4 volumes.
All right,
Kinda
Mr. Chair.
tiny print. You got to have good eyes. It's kind of tiny print, but it's so much great information.
Tiny print.
It is.
Okay.
Neil.
All righty, sir. We'll do a roll call if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, please.
Delvo,
Yes.
Schuler,
Here.
Dorf,
Here.
Dean,
Here.
Inkfus,
Here.
Parma, and Reardon.
I think they both said they're going to be excused.
I believe so.
Okay, a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Dorf and second by Matt. All those in favor, sing by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
motion carried. Approval of minutes from the December 14th meeting.
Move to approve.
Kathy and Debbie. Debbie? All right,
Yes.
yep, Debbie did. All right, thank you. All those in favor of the motion, sing by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Very good, thank you. A regular order of business. It's kind of neat that, Neil, that we don't have 14, 15 items in a way.
I know you guys are
know,
gonna.
I-
You guys are getting off easy today. Although we may be asking for a special meeting here later in January, though, just so it's not
It is-
complete without. We do have a few other things coming through, but
Yeah, we may not have a volume, but definitely a quality agenda item, very important agenda. item.
absolutely.
Number 1, consideration of possible action, a request to amend development agreement 2021-01 with Merge LLC.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll do the report on that one. Essentially, we're just updating the dates for the completion of the project for the merge development in the shipyard. Essentially due to several reasons, including some design efforts with architect and even from just in terms of general delays, obviously some related to the pandemic as well. They simply have asked to kind of shift their dates 6 months. So well, certainly not a major change, but it does, it certainly does affect one less year of tax increment in the TIF district because of the change. So again, they didn't express any concerns over that. They're aware of that, but simply wanted to make sure that the overall project was simply shifting 6 months. The other change that is identified in there is they requested that the city accelerate the reconstruction of Arndt Street. Essentially, we were going to be completing that project, trying to do the timing with that, essentially after the completion of their project, just to avoid some construction conflicts with their equipment and so forth, but they've asked us to move that up. Staff has we've resolved that through a design effort and site planning, essentially a way to do that improvement and still keep the construction equipment off of the new road. So both amendments have been edited into the agreement as provided for you. So we're certainly available to answer any questions.
So Public Works doesn't have any trouble with the new date on Arndt Street?
No, in fact, we worked with them on certainly the ability to do that, and there's still some design work that still needs to be completed for that street, but they said they're able to accommodate that. And I think the one thing we do want to certainly do some additional work on is some coordination with CN Rail, obviously with the railroad crossing right there located on Arndt Street. And actually, the railroad has actually reached out to the city and asked to meet to discuss some design considerations for that. So looking forward to good communication on that and in moving that forward. So really all other aspects are moving forward as anticipated. They simply wanted to adjust the development agreement to reflect what they thought the real time schedule was going to be.
And your confidence level is as high as it ever was as far as their progress?
Yeah, absolutely. They are still meeting quite regularly with Stantec, with our design firm. They are still doing considerable amount of work behind, certainly so there are certainly dollars are still being spent and invested. So again, we felt that they were simply being proactive in requesting that this change be moved 6 months to give kind of accurately reflect what they believe the actual construction time would be.
Questions
And
comments?
Neil-
I'm sorry, questions or comments from the group, please?
I was just gonna say, and Neil, with this change, when would, we start seeing shovels go into the ground and, real construction work start?
For the actual development, let me see here if we actually had that note in there. I believe it probably would be sometime this fall. I think you will actually see in the springtime, you'll actually see public improvements for the waterfront improvements going on that the city's part of the project will actually be going. That's actually being finalized right now as we speak. We're about 85% on design work for that aspect, the waterfront improvements. So the trail, some of the cool amenities for in the actual slip itself, the water improvements. But the private construction we would anticipate would be underway probably late this fall.
Neil, you'd indicated that the changes were already in the contract.
I believe that attachment was done here. Let me make sure that made the.
All right, because I'm not seeing, I went through this a few times.
Oh, sorry. It's the first amendment to the development agreement. It's actually an addendum to the current agreement, Kath. So it's not a red line version of that. Should be it's like about a two or three. Well, it's a multiple page document, 5-page document with the except. So it's titled First Amendment to the. I can share it on the screen if need to, but it is the third attachment on the agenda screen on the online agenda, I should say.
Okay.
If anybody would like to make sure and see that here, I can share that here. Let's see.
So we are going to put into the contracts that we're going to make the changes on the roadway?
Yes, that has been incorporated. So let me make sure here. Dates. Fact. Oh, I'm not seeing that specifically in there. I guess if we could simply just make that, any motion, but if that would be, could you include that in the actual motion to make sure that is included, please? I'm looking for it in here. I guess the amendment is primarily related to the dates.
Yeah, because there's other dates in there that I'm questioning when the TIF goes, and other such dates. So does that move all the dates 6 months or?
Well, essentially, the way the TIF is set up as the pay-go, Kathy, is essentially until the increment is actually in the ground and assessed on the following January 1, there won't be any movement on that. So this will actually delay. There might be some substantial completion done depending on when the project's done. So there may be a lower payment done that would have been anticipated than that first year, but otherwise it will shift all of the TIF payments out by probably a year.
Okay.
I only have somebody aboard from legal counsel. I'd like to get their interpretation.
Yep.
Is there?
Yep,
Yes.
Joanne's here. She's dialing in
Hey,
right
Joanne.
now.
Hi,
Yep.
Joanne.
Good afternoon. If someone, I'm not sure if I'm following as to what the question is at this point, just so I'm clear as to what I'm answering.
I think, Mr. Chair, was the question and Kathy's question related to certainly the delays in construction here? What is that essentially affecting the other dates in the agreement in terms of the TIF payment, I believe?
That's my understanding is that because of the delays, all the dates needed to be shifted in the original agreement. And so that's why we're bringing forward just an amendment to the original agreement that was executed to address those dates versus executing an entirely new agreement. So whatever provisions are being called out in the amendment specifically are the ones that are having dates changed. Anything else that's not called out specifically in the amendment, the original dates.
Okay.
Okay.
So to protect ourselves, do we need to make the motion very specific?
Yes, if there needs to be a change to the amendment draft and additional language needs to be added, then that language needs to be specified in the motion so that it can be revised.
All right, other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion of any sorts. Matt or Kathy, you're very good at wording.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the First Amendment to the development agreement which includes the dates shifting 6 months. And also that we are accommodating Art Street and Art Street to be completed
You could say by May 2024.
by May 31st, 2024.
Perfect. Thank you, Kat. That's perfect.
Joanne,
I'll
you
second
comfortable with
that.
Joanne, you
Second.
comfortable with the motion? Joanne, are you comfortable with the motion?
Yes, that would be fine.
Olderdorf, second, I believe. Okay,
Yes.
any other questions or comments?
One change I would say is that I think the motion should be to amend the draft and then to approve as amended.
You go along with that, Kathy?
Sure.
Olderdorf, you agree with that as well, I'm sure? Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
If not, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Joanne, as well.
Absolutely.
Number 2, consideration of possible action to approve a 60-day extension of planning option with Maker Solutions for a 4-plex townhouse development at 115 South Van Buren Street. Yes, I read that as well. Go ahead. Neil, is that you?
Nope, that'd be me,
Oh,
Chairman. So I just talked with Ken Ravinsky from Maker Solutions earlier this week. You know, we asked for a 30-day extension last week to work on some more financing and to get some things in order. But in speaking with Ken, there's been some challenges with the financing and the loss of that partner. So we're now looking at, which is actually, I think, better for the project. Ken's looking at 1 to 2 of those 4 units potentially being affordable. So he's partnering up with NeighborWorks to try to come up with a plan to make those 4 townhomes both affordable and market rate, kind of similar to the Navarino townhomes that NeighborWorks did, which are really cool and rocked. So
okay.
we're just asking for a 60-day extension to give NeighborWorks and Maker Solutions enough time to put this project together and bring it back.
You're comfortable with that and you're as excited about the project as everywhere?
Yes, I actually am more excited about the project now that we could actually mix it with some affordability. So yes, and we haven't had anyone, you know, knocking on the door for this parcel either. So I think bringing it back to the March RDA is appropriate, and staff supports that.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
I think
Oh, Debbie got it.
Nice
Debbie
job,
seconded
Cheryl.
it.
Okay, Kathy made the motion, second by Debbie. Questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. Thanks again. Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. We're rolling here. We're on the last agenda, item, which is kind of rare for us, but that's okay. Consideration of possible action and a 6-month extension to the 2020 CDBG CARES agreement with legal action in Wisconsin. Who's got that?
Krista.
I do, Chair. Yes, in
Yes.
December, we received a letter from Legal Action of Wisconsin. They currently hold an agreement for some CARES funds, our first round of CARE funds for legal services in response to the COVID pandemic. During the 2021 year, they had some unforeseen staffing shortages, so they weren't able to expend all of their funds per the agreement. They are currently up and running full staffed and have the clientele to proceed with this funding and would like a 6-month extension to continue on with their services to the residents of Green Bay who are experiencing legal issues due to the pandemic, and staff fully supports. Currently, they have assisted 134 individuals. We do have someone on the line from Legal Wisconsin if you have any questions for them. Otherwise, that is really the background of what they are asking.
How does that number compare to other years at this point in time? The 134.
Well, we have never contracted for issues like this.
Oh,
So this is the one-time CARES funding.
Oh, okay.
So this is it's a new service and a new contract.
So basically, we had given them a certain amount to spend within a certain amount of time. They
Yes.
couldn't do that, so now they want an extension, and there's not an issue with CARES funding for that extension. So it's the same amount that we approved.
Yes, right, correct. Yeah, they received $77,950 and currently have expended $44,885.48. So they're about halfway done with their funding.
Okay.
Okay,
Does
That's-
anybody feel we should open up the meeting, or do you feel comfortable with proceeding?
I would like to make a motion to approve this. It seems like this is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
There's the need is out there. The money is available. It's a one-time funding. I move that we approve it.
Okay, Alder Dorf, a motion by Alder Dorf to approve.
I'll second.
I think Matt might have snuck in there at the time, Kathy. I just.
That's quite all right.
I was gonna give it to Kathy, Gary. I'm
No,
just
no,
in
we'll
a
give it to
giving mood
Matt.
this year.
You're right. Motion by Alder Dorf, second by Matt. Any other questions or comments on the motion? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. Very good. Informational. Cheryl, I was wondering, I don't mind, we have this update on housing study. Do you think we should continue to have it on the agenda or as needed, or how do you feel about it? When we first approved the housing study, we said it's so important that we're going to continue to have it an agenda item for the foreseeable future. I love getting the updates. How do you feel about it?
I can certainly continue to give updates on what we're
Okay.
working on for housing. I spoke with Director Steck-Schulte, who thought that also could be included in the director's report when we have announcements with regards to housing projects we're working on.
Well, however, the two of you want to work on it, that's great. But we've made some great progress, actually, in regard to that study, as far as things that we've implemented already. But is there anything specific you want to bring us up to speed on?
Well, I just cut this briefly. Our department is finalizing some housing project proposals for ARPA funding that we'll be working with the mayor's office with this week, which we're excited about. We've also started the redevelopment process in earnest for our public housing units at Mason Manor and Scattered Site. This week is capital needs assessment updates, appraisals, environmental. So a lot of tenant notices, a lot of activity going on, COVID safe within that public housing project. And then we had a great meeting with the new executive director of Habitat for Humanity, Jessica Diederich. Very excited about continuing along with our partnership, has a potential new project that we're going to meet with next week on, or I think she's looking at maybe 10 homes. So a larger habitat
Oh,
project.
Wow.
So very excited about that. So that went very well as well. So that's what I have.
Good.
Any questions of Cheryl in regard to the housing study? If not, next item. I looked at the financial report and check register, didn't have any questions. I don't know if anybody else in the committee had any questions. If not, we will accept that as presented. Director's report and project updates. Neil.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, I mentioned we'll be sending out a quick poll to members to see if there's availability for a meeting on either the Wednesday or Thursday, the week of January 24th. I think that's going to be, I think that's the 26th and 27th, I think will be the key dates we'll be looking at, just check availability. We're looking at a couple of projects. One, we think the TWG amendment is hopefully ready by then. We're still waiting on a significant amount of information for them to still provide back to staff for some analysis in terms of some information we've requested back from them. So we're tentatively planning on them coming forward on that. We been presented with an assignment request of the TIF payment for the Legacy Hotel project, working with Joanne in the attorney's office to kind of essentially, if you guys remember in that agreement, we always generally have standard language that allows for the assignment of that benefit to go to someone, especially a financial institution. In this case, we have a financial institution, a developer who is taking advantage of that, and they're asking to assign essentially their TIF payment to their lending institution as part of their payment as they go forward. So in order to do that, there's a couple of minor tweaks. There's essentially an assignment agreement that we need to to approve. And there's also a guaranteed increment language that we would like to add to the current agreement. Again, so really not changing the agreement, just really the mechanics of how the TIF increment gets paid out to the developer at their request. So we're bringing that forward. There's also hopefully an additional new project that we'll be ready to hopefully announce and talk about at that particular meeting when that comes forward. So probably looking at the next regular meeting, I'm sneaking ahead a little bit, is February 8th, looking at the One Astor development agreement and the 222 Cherry Street project that has previously been discussed, both of those coming back at the February meeting. So picking up kind of where we left off in terms of some of these projects that we're working on, and we think they're done, but there's some minor adjustments as they get ready, kind of getting ready to proceed towards construction. So it's still a good sign. We still feel very positive about all of our projects that we have approved agreements with. So we're excited about that. Cheryl mentioned the Mason Manor project, and we want to emphasize what a major project this is in terms of the renovations at Mason Manor as well as the scattered sites throughout the city. This is really an enormous undertaking. So we just want to make sure that everybody really understands. I think Cheryl may not be patting herself on the back quite enough on this one for her and her staff, Jamie Valentine and everybody. This is going to be an inordinate amount of work, but it's really going to be a great investment for the city going forward on that. So excited to hopefully have some updates specifically on that project as it goes through, because we do want to celebrate and show that one off a little bit as those renovations get made to that facility. So Cheryl also mentioned the ARPA allocations, working with the mayor's office to kind of come up with some recommendations to bring forward for council discussion and consideration here in the coming month or so. Going to be working on the JBS site RFP. We've been a little delayed on that one in terms of getting that, but we've got some additional resources that have kind of come to the table in terms of partnerships that have kind of caused us to slow that down a little bit. So we are still planning on working on that here this spring and to try to get that RFP drafted and out to the RDA for consideration. But we've got some additional resources we're kind of making have been made available to us that are kind of some of the partnerships that we like to kind of leverage on this, and would include certainly the Green Bay School District, the UW Green Bay Extension Services. Certainly the other folks like the ATC, the power lines, coordinating with their office a little bit in terms of some ability to use the land underneath the power lines. So we're kind of doing some a little bit more upfront coordination than we were planning on, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think that's actually only going to help us result in a little bit better RFP as we go forward. So we'll certainly be bringing updates to this body as we're ready to go, but also looking forward to actually bringing the RFP forward for approval here in the next several months. I mentioned earlier the shipyard kind of public improvement plans are about, we're kind of barreling towards the 85% level complete plans with our engineering and park staff, kind of coordinating that and getting that out, working with Stantec, our consultant on that. Looking to try to get those projects bid in February to get the most competitive bid time. We figure that's kind of the best time to get those out and hopefully get where most contractors will be looking for work. We feel that's probably our best opportunity to get that out. We had a really good meeting. Mayor's office facilitated directly with the individuals. Mr. Chair, you'll like this one, at the actual owners of the Sea Rice Coal Company. Actually, we're in town and we had a really good conversation with them, looking to move forward a little bit on kind of getting the appraisals on some of the land done and start talking about actual transfer of property. We're still waiting on grant announcements from the state, hopefully in terms of kind of both us and the county in terms of kind of facilitating the actual acquisition of the Pulliam site by the county. Again, that still remains domino number one, but we're confident that that's coming soon. It was supposed to maybe be by the end of the year, but I think certainly things happen, obviously. We're hoping those announcements get made here in the next couple of weeks. But everybody else is still working behind the scenes. I know the county is still working on preparing for planning and design of Pulliam site improvements. Regardless of what kind of moves forward here, we've started these conversations again with Sea Rice directly. We think that's also a good sign. So we'll continue to have those in. And I want to make sure that folks were aware of, last night there was a referral made, considering staff's going to be evaluating the potential of merging the Economic Development Authority into this body, the Redevelopment Authority. So we're just considering some of the options in terms of the amount of workload that's being done by this group and by the other group. We just think there might be some efficiencies in maybe confining them into one. However, we need to make sure that we maintain all of our statutory essentially abilities essentially that the RDA has. We don't want to diminish those authorities and rules that you guys already have. So we're going to be doing some analysis and seeing what it would be in terms of maybe moving some of those duties up there. The EDA generally is responsible for industrial park development. They've done some work with our EPA funds in terms of some of the actual planning, corridor planning and things that have been done. Items that are really not totally different than I think what this body has done. I think the expertise on this is certainly not a stretch, I don't believe, for most folks who are on this authority. So preliminarily, we think it's a good idea. We think it's a way to eliminate a meeting. We still want to make sure we're certainly taking advantage of the skill sets and those individuals who are serving on the EDA, whether that's maybe helping out with some of the revolving loan fund committee review applications or grant applications or other things that we might want to take a look at that. So staff has been asked to take a look at that as an opportunity. And when we have something tangible, we're certainly going to be bringing a report back to the RDA as well for some feedback on the concept and see if there's something that you guys are interested in. So see what happens when you get a short meeting, Mr. Chairman, and see what happens. They give you a whole bunch more stuff. So with that, that's my staff report for my director's report for today, and certainly available for any questions.
Lots of stuff going on. Great job. Kathy, please.
I'm just following up on, we approved that contract like 2 months ago, and we were, it was for Light Park. And there was 3 or 4 different proposals, and we were going to get an outline and the major differences. We were supposed to get it in December, and then we didn't get it, so we were supposed to get it in January.
Yeah, I think we were looking at the one thing that was holding me up, I believe, Kathy, was in terms of whether or not I believe the request was for the outline and the actual proposals. I think was what the request was, at least from what I have in my notes. Then the size of the proposals was kind of prohibitive in terms of getting them out. So I have an outline that's ready to go. I can set, if that's all that the RDA is interested, I can send that scoring matrix outline out right now. And if that I have that available for everybody, but my understanding was that there was a request to actually look at the proposals too. But if the outline is all you guys are interested in seeing right now, I can send that out. That'll be out this afternoon.
That was, I'm trying to think who that was specifically. Oh my God, here, hang on a second.
Yeah, I think in my notes, it was a request for the outline of the scoring matrix and then the copies of the proposals.
This was something of the particular interest of Melanie. So you may want to be checking with Melanie because I don't know if it's.
I don't think we asked for all the proposals.
If it's legally right for her to see all the proposals, I don't know. I mean,
they are public record essentially that they've been submitted, but they're not super friendly to get emailed out to everybody and make it right. So we're just trying to figure out if, like I said, for RDA members, if you just want to start, I'll send the outline out this afternoon. Okay. And if anybody has an interest in seeing any extra information on that, just certainly let me know and we'll figure out how to get them over to you.
Neil.
Perfect.
That sounds perfect.
And continue to keep in touch with Melanie because this was something of the particular interest of her, of course.
Yeah, so, absolutely. And I'll reach out to her directly, Mr. Chair, to make sure.
I appreciate that. Any other questions for Neil or staff? Neil, each year there's 3 things we like getting updates on. 2, we recently have done updates on where the TIDs are. Of course, we did a lot of updating on that, but somewhere during the year, give us another update on the status of all the TIDs. Our bonding is also something we're also interested in. Of course, we just did a big change on that, so there's no hurry on that. But the thing that's probably the most interested to us is an update on the land parcels that we own and the plans and how we're going to get them back in the tax rolls. This, of course, can be a lot of work for Rhonda probably, but you've done that before, and so I think Bridget in particular. She mentioned one time that she is unaware of the lands that we own, and it'd be great that all the committee members are brought to speeds on exactly all the parcels we own and any strategies and how we're going to get them back on tax rolls. Cheryl, you're smiling.
That was actually going to come to this meeting, but Rhonda's on vacation this week.
Okay.
So we had planned to bring the parcel, we give the annual report on parcels we own and the plans and how to move forward. That's going to come to you in February.
That'd be great. I hope Bridget's there because she was particularly interested in that. That'd be great. So the other 2, you've given us updates fairly recently on both of them, but somewhere during the year, I know you have to do a report to the state on the TIDs anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so we'll be
Yeah.
preparing that information as part of our audit and as well. So that in addition for that, not only for the city's audit, but also for the Joint Review Board. So we'll probably be bringing that report and that update to this body prior to going to the Joint Review Board.
That'd be
So,
great. And you guys have done a great amount of work on those fairly recently, and I think we're in real good shape, but an update on that is always appreciated. And then I want to make sure you said that the special meeting may be January 26th or 27th. Is that what you said?
I think those are the days we're probably going to send the poll out. We may, we're looking for like kind of Wednesday and Thursday of that particular week, I believe, or Friday possibly if we needed to. Those will be our 3 days.
I'm going skiing at Big Sky, Montana, but I think it's right after that. But Matt, if not, I'm sure you'll handle it well like you always do. But anyway.
You mean the skiing, Gary? Or
Yeah,
the
so we
meeting?
all get
'Cause
to go
I'll gladly
skiing.
take the skiing for you.
I've never skied with you. I'm sure you're a great
Matt.
skier though.
And we're leaving for Denver on that Friday, so
I
Let's
think
shoot
you-
for Wednesday or Thursday then. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's,
Debbie, please. You're gonna say
I will,
something?
I will not be here for either of those.
Oh, shoot. Okay, well,
Or
I will not be here Wednesday or Friday. I'm presenting at a conference and Friday, and I won't be here Wednesday. So Thursday is my only possibility.
okay, well, we'll have to check. We'll check a poll and hopefully we'll have to make Thursday. Otherwise, we may need to get creative on the date, which we
Right.
obviously need a quorum. We'll work with everybody's
Mhm.
schedule to make that happen. So.
excellent.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Alder Dorf,
second.
second by Kathy. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thanks for a great job like always, gang.